This really is one of the first questions asked by new homeschool moms. What is the most efficient way to homeschool multiple grades together? Well, I've got the answers for you, my friend. I have answers to your curriculum questions, answers to your scheduling questions, and maybe even a few other tools that will help you homeschool your large brood of children. So many moms jump into the homeschooling gig with excitement, or maybe you didn't jump in, maybe you were thrown in, if it's 2020, right? But it usually starts with a lot of excitement, maybe a twinge of fear, planning how you're gonna do it, dreaming how life is gonna be. It's all very, very, very fun. And then you start shopping, and then you start realizing how many choices there are. And then you start seeing stuff on Pinterest that is about scheduling your day or the problems that happen in a day. And then you realize, wait a second, how am I gonna do this? I'm one person. I have 2, 3, 4, 10. I mean, it happens, right? Let me comment below if you're one of those moms. I have a lot of kids. How do you teach multiple grades together? And so many moms are like, they get school done by noon? Or if you have a lot of kids, how do you get done by 3? How do you do it? So some of this is going to depend on the age of your children, but you need to think about it this way. Combine subjects where you can. Bible, history, science, PE, maybe art, and definitely read alouds. Maybe prioritize the needs of your older children, because really, those little ones are going to absorb a ton. Think of it as like they're catching some of the crumbs falling off the table, but they're still getting nutrition and they're getting it in the doses that they can handle. Now, when your oldest children get to middle school or high school levels, then you need to kind of shift focus back and make sure you're handling the needs of your readers, your younger readers, because middle school, high school, they really can start to be more independent, and they should be. Check out this video for help with that. Consider this when you're choosing your curriculum. There are a lot of curriculum choices, and you probably, before choosing curriculum, do need to decide how exactly you envision your day going, because that may determine what sort of curriculum you choose. For example, Bob Jones and Abeka curriculum, they are going to have you choose curriculum by grade, and they're going to supply you everything you need for one grade. But if you have a lot of children, you need to think about, are you going to be able to help your kindergartner with all their subjects, and help your first grader with all their subjects, and help your third grader with all their subjects, and help your fourth grader with all their subjects? Do you see where I'm getting? That may not be realistic for you. You need to think about that. There are a lot of curriculums, however, where they do frame their curriculums in a way that is a little bit more family style. And so here are some of those. The Gather Round curriculum is for kindergarten up to high school. Now, I think it's debatable whether or not it's really a curriculum for the upper grades, but I did a review on that you can check out. It is a unit study approach, however, and is designed for some sort of family style learning. My Father's World is the same way. Now, their family cycle is for 2nd, 3rd grade-ish through 8th grade, but the intent is to have them all learn together, except for language arts and math. Those are the subjects where you really aren't going to be able to do a whole lot together, unless maybe your children are only a year apart. You could maybe do language arts together. Otherwise, children are pretty much going to be learning individually on those subjects. But for the My Father's World family cycle, you're combining science and history and art in your read alouds, like I said. Classical conversations. The foundations, which is pre-K through 6th grade really lends itself to family style learning. They have memory work in all of these subjects again, a lot of memorization put to song. And then, so you focus on the memory work as a family. And I'm telling you, when we were in CC and I had a 3-year-old, she wasn't even going to the community day with us, but when she heard the songs at home, she was learning them. So because it's put to music and it's not a whole lot to memorize each week, they are like sponges and can learn so much by the end of the year. And then with that curriculum, you can dig deeper into the science topics or into the history topics. So your memory work is over here, and then you can allow for interest-led learning on those topics. I believe the Sunlight curriculum might have a core that you can do family style. I know they are very literature based, so you can do a lot of reading and again, history and science together, I think. The Good and the Beautiful lends itself very well to family style. I love their science curriculum. So their science curriculum is kindergarten through 8th grade, and their history curriculum says that it can go through high school. I haven't tried that one out yet. I haven't seen any YouTube videos yet of high schoolers actively doing that history, so I can't really speak to that, but it says you can include high schoolers in that, and then they have Explorer's Notebook with additional work for your upper school so that they can get all of the extra hours that they need while your younger grades can just absorb what they can consume. Or you could piece together your own curriculum and combine all of these subjects. That's called eclectic homeschooling, where you're not choosing like one core curriculum from one company. You're picking out your subjects from wherever you want. Apologia has science, Master Books, Answers in Genesis. They have a science curriculum that's also kind of over a broad range of ages that you could do together. I think Knotgrass History has history curriculum, Mystery of History, Story of the World. Those are all curriculums that are designed to be done family style. There's tons of art curriculums out there. And then of course, your read alouds in your morning basket that you might put together, your Bible study. I am going to link below a video that I have done about the family style Bible study that we do in this house. And we have been doing that particular Bible study now for 4 years. And I'm telling you, it works from the youngest to the adult because I have learned a ton from that study. Bible is one of those things that is meant to be done as a family also. And then you can go separate and dig deeper as you need. So how do you schedule your day if you have a lot of kids? Again, mom's just one person. How is this all going to coordinate? I did a video about our schedule that I will link below, and also how I stay organized as mom. When that's available, I will link that below also with my particular life planner. Very essential. So when you're scheduling your day, you need to think about this. Beware of micro-scheduling. That may drive you insane, and that's where you might have it down to the 15-minute mark, or by the hour you're going to do this and then you're going to do this. Especially if you have a lot of kids to coordinate. I have found that it's very difficult to stick to an hourly schedule, like say you might do in a school. Because a lot of the beauty of homeschool, honestly, is it's not a school. Your kids are allowed to get up every once in a while and go to the bathroom when they need to. You do not have to replicate school at home. You have the freedom to move around. And so because of that freedom, sometimes you need to make sure you have some freedom in your schedule. So here are some suggestions for you. Some homeschoolers, and I have seen YouTube videos on how moms schedule their day. Some people just have a flow and they just go from one subject to the next, but it's the same flow every single day. That way they know what's coming next, and maybe their kids are working somewhat independently and can just go on to the next thing. We use a block schedule. Now, I may have ideas by the hour in my block schedule, but I'm not a stickler with the hour. Really, I'm looking at in the morning time, this is what we're doing. And these time stamps are our goals, but really some days one lesson may take a half an hour, other days it may take 15 minutes. So I just think of my day in chunks of morning, lunchtime, and afternoon. What are we going to accomplish? Here is the number one thing you need to think about, mama. What needs your attention? So figuring out your homeschool schedule starts with your time first. Again, one person, one mom. So if you have young kids who all of them need your attention on something, you're gonna have to decide, okay, I'm gonna focus here first, and then I'm gonna focus here, and while I'm focused here, this child is doing this. What can they do on their own? That's what I like to call independent subjects. So for example, I might do a lesson, language lessons with my first grader, and then say, okay, here's the directions I gave you. Now you work on that while I work over here. And we sit at this table together. My children, our first couple years of homeschooling, it was more difficult for them to concentrate on their work while I was working with somebody else, but now they are used to it. So they have figured out how to do their work while they hear me working someplace else. That's just, that's life, right? If you work in an office, there's gonna be people talking around you while you're trying to get work done. So you basically need to schedule your time and then decide what independent work they can do while you're working with somebody else. Consider your time, mama, when choosing curriculum. There's some curriculum that's very child-led, and there's a lot of curriculum that's very teacher-intensive, meaning you have to teach the lesson and you have to work with your child in order to do those lessons. So if your oldest is still young and maybe you've still got a lot of little ones and you've got a lot more time to focus on your oldest, you can choose more teacher-intensive curriculums. And you can do all the fun activities with them and let your little ones enjoy. But if your oldest is, say, 5th grade, and you have a lot of little ones under tow, you may not want to choose super teacher-intensive stuff for those little ones if you need to focus more of your attention with your 5th grader. So what are some of those curriculums that I'm talking about? So let's just look at language arts, for example. Explode the Code is one of those curriculums that's very child-directed. You just read the directions and the child can go through and do a lot of that on their own. Logic of English, very, very good. Logic of English foundations, I should say, because the foundations and the essentials, Logic of English are very different, and I did not enjoy the essentials, but that's another story. The Logic of English foundations is very fun, very thorough, very good, very teacher intensive. Very different from Explode the Code. Master books curriculums are pretty teacher friendly. They are short little lessons. Again, my experience with that is really just the language lessons for living education through 5. So other curriculums like the history, I think that they are designed to be more student-led, more student-directed. But I can speak for the language lessons. It's very teacher-friendly, very easy on the time. The Good and the Beautiful, I think, is also designed to be student-directed. And then there's a curriculum I've never tried, but it's called Switched On Schoolhouse, which is, I believe it's like little flash drives for your grade, and it's all done on the computer. I think not very teacher-intensive at all. So just consider those things with the amount of kids that you have and how much time you have, because homeschool mom burnout happens. And one of the reasons that contributes to that is mom loads up her plate with all of these things. A homeschool day is hard. You have a job. It's homeschooling your kids. You also have a job. It's keeping up with your house. I'm assuming that unless you have a chef for a husband or a husband who loves to cook all the time, that you're probably going to be the one in charge of your meals as well as all the chores around. Your job is never going to end. I hate to break it to you. it can be very exhausting. So simplify where you can. And then maybe it won't be so exhausting. Teach your kids how to help too. But we'll talk about that. Organize your space, your homeschool space, in a way where it's very easy for your kids to help pick it up. So I have an organization video where I talk about this. If you have systems in place that only you understand and your family doesn't really know where things go, or you want it done a certain way, then you're always going to be the one to put it away. So try to create systems where you can say, hey, go clean up the homeschool room, and they know where things go, or they know where their things go. So give them a space just for their things, and teach them how to do chores if you haven't already done this already. Now, I do recommend on the chores helping to tidy up throughout the day. So in our home, we tidy up after our morning Bible study. So if there are dishes left out from breakfast, that's when we will get to them. Everybody will make sure their beds are made at that time. We tidy up again after lunch and then after our day. So that way the house doesn't just completely get away from me. And then if you want your children to help with things like dusting and cleaning bathrooms and those sorts of things, I would recommend training that in the summertime and really focusing on, here's the new chore we are all going to learn. Here's what your responsibility is going to be for this upcoming school year. And so that way you are really able to be intentional about teaching them how to properly help around the house without also having to worry about, we got to get school done, they got to get their homework done, I got to get dinner ready. That's a lot for the school year. So focus on that in the summertime. And then when the school year starts, they will already know how to do it. So some other tools to help mama with her time and teaching all the grades together. Audiobooks. There is no rule that says you have to be the one to read aloud. Take advantage of audiobooks and in fact kill two birds with one stone. Turn the audiobook on while you're driving to the grocery store. Turn the audiobook on while you're doing chores. I love listening to things while I do chores. Memory work CDs. If you watched my homeschool supplies video, I talk about the Classical Conversations Memory Work app in there. They also have CDs, and you do not have to be a part of a community in order to take advantage of their memory work. I highly recommend it. Your children will still be learning a ton, and with the CDs or the memory work app, it just doesn't take a lot of mama's attention in order for them to learn. We learn a ton from our memory work CDs because we do that in the car whenever we're driving. And then math drills. We use another app called the Extra Math app. I talk about that in my math comparisons video, but that one is a very simple app that literally just drills the math facts, times them, keeps track of their scores. So rather than having your child always have to do it on paper and then you having to grade it, let the app do it. It's really simple. It literally puts on the screen what 9 plus 9, child types in 18. You can't get more simple than that. Math drills is important to keep up on. Every year I learn a little bit more what works, what doesn't work. I mean, next year is going to be my 7th year homeschooling, and I kind of change it up every year as our needs change. It definitely gets easier the more experience that you have under your belt. Lucky for you, you found YouTube, which is also a great tool to help you out with all these things. And even more lucky for you, you found my channel. So make sure you subscribe to keep learning all the tips, because as long as I keep learning, I'm gonna keep sharing. So until next time, bye.